What's popping, locking, and dropping, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Blake.
My name is Riley.
And we are the S1 Podcast. What we'll go over today, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be starting out if you're thinking about the military service. So this whole point of this podcast is to tap into benefits and outlooks and perspectives that can add value to what you're going through, whether that will be going into the military, you're currently in the military, or you're out of the military, or you're just a civilian wanting just to know more about manlyhood, hygiene tips, and tips and tricks of what we've learned from our discipline that we've received throughout the military. So that's the whole point of this whole entire podcast, and every single video we will add value any way, shape, or form to those categories always. So always stay tuned throughout the whole video for additional tips to add to your life. All right, so we're going to start off with the DEP program. I'll go first. So if you don't know, the DEP program is a program that you go into. It's like the starter up to boot camp. This is for the Marine Corps. It's called the DEP program. It's usually based out of an office, local cities. So major cities, they'll have like a military office, like recruiter center. And within that office, they'll hold called the DEP program. The DEP program basically consists of preparing you administratively, physically, and get you in the right stepping stones to be ready for boot camp. That's where you meet your recruiters and other cadets / poolies that are with you that will possibly go with you depending on timing and everything to boot camp and through that process. My experience specifically was for me, my RSS was Hartford, Connecticut. Basically what it consists of, every Saturday I would go do like a mock PFT, which is like a half of a PFT. What was it called, Nick?
It was called, I forgot what it stood for, but it was called like an IST.
Initial strength training test, something like that. Yeah. But it's basically half a PFT, 1.5 miles, and just practice your pull-ups. They just changed the Marine Corps, sit-ups things to now what was it, planks now?
Yeah, it changed from crunches to planks.
So if you're, getting ready to go in, planks, pull-ups, and running, what we definitely recommend just to get ready for the DEP program. But overall, it's the usual say, the recruiters lie to you because they're trying to hustle you. They get it's all about a numbers game with the Marine Corps. You'll notice that when you get in and while you're in and while you get out. So we're trying to be here to be that middleman, to give you that real talk. So if you have any comments below on questionable things your recruiters say, myself, and I've talked to some commissioned guys, some guys that are going to be a commissioned officer that are in my college right now. And even those recruiters say some wild stuff. So I'll give it to you, Nick. That was a little bit about my situation with the DEP program. You could probably add more to
that. Yeah. It's funny you say that about the recruiters.
Yeah.
That's that's the first step, right? That's the first thing you got to do, is you got to get in contact with one of those guys.
Right.
And then you got to, decide from there what you're trying to do. We can't speak for the other branches, but I can speak for the Marine Corps in that those guys, they don't get a lot of people walking through that door. It's the smallest branch. It's the most selective branch. It has the more restrictions than all the other ones. And it requires the most from you. They only take a certain type of person. And that's where you start. Because, I was going to join the Army for the longest time growing up. Like, that's what I was going to do. And then I talked to all the recruiters, and I talked to every branch. And for whatever reason, I just felt like the Marine Corps was a better fit. That's after I talked to them. And you just kind of get this vibe from each recruiter. And for me, I feel like I meshed well with my Marine recruiter. So he did his job really good, is what I'm trying to
Very
say.
well.
He got my ass, but that's the first step, right? Is you got to talk to the recruiters, man. And then when you decide which branch you want to go, now you're having to, if you haven't already thought in your head, now you're having to think about the type of job that you want to do, and you have to. It's all about timing, you know. At least for the Marine Corps, there's only a certain number of slots per MOS that can leave at certain times. For example, I wanted to do combat support, artillery specifically, and it was January, and that's what I wanted to do. I would have had to have waited all the way till August and November in order to go to boot camp and start training. So I would have literally been sitting around all year to go. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And so I chose something that was a bit sooner. It wasn't that much sooner, but I chose something a little bit sooner in September, and that was admin. And I was like, screw it. Like, I want to get out of here. I didn't want to do infantry. I knew I didn't want to do infantry because we're not at war. So in my head, I was like, well, there's no point because we're not fighting anything. And so I chose admin. I left a little bit earlier. And so you have to keep that in mind. Like, how quickly do you want to leave home, and what job do you want to do? You got to keep those two things in mind. If you want to do open contract, which is, I don't care what job, it's literally signing papers saying, I don't care what job I get, the Marine Corps will decide for me. And the Marine Corps will give you a job based on what they need at that time. It could be recon. It could be chef. It could literally, maybe not recon. It could be infantry, or it could be like cook or admin. It could be literally anything. It's the needs of the Marine Corps. So I don't recommend doing that. I really don't. Pick something. Talk to guys who are in, because you're going to go to the recruiting station. They're probably going to do PTs, which is physical training. So they're probably going to be exercising. And then there's probably going to be Marines there that just graduated boot camp. And so what you can do is talk to those guys, like talk to them and get as much knowledge as you can, because they were just there on the depot training and they were going through the suck. So they know it, and they're going to answer a lot of your questions. They can't really tell you much about the fleet, which is after you're done training and you get to your unit. They can't really tell you much about that, but that's where your recruiter can tell you. You got to keep in mind, though, these recruiters have an agenda. So I recommend talking to, if you have a friend who's currently overseas, or if you got like veterans, just talk to somebody, because they have no reason to lie to you.
Or talk to us.
That's what we're here for. It's really what we're
that's the whole purpose.
Yeah, it's the whole purpose of why we're doing this. But to get back on topic, right? You talk to your recruiter, you make contact, you start making those connections, find out what you want, and then you finally decide what you want to do. So you're signing the paperwork, and you're like, I'm fucking golden. I'm doing it. What happens next is you go to a place nearby. It's not all nearby. It's called MEPS, which stands for Military Entrance Processing Station. Everyone has to go there. Everybody in the military, or who's trying to join the military, and previous military guys who are trying to rejoin the military, have to go there too. Everybody has to go through this station, and they're all over the country in all the major cities. I lived in Beaumont, Texas, which is the southeast area. I had to drive 2 hours to Houston to do MEPS. And you're going to go there. It's going to be, I'm not going to get into the specific of it right this moment. I'm just going to go through the steps real quick. Go to MEPS. You go through that whole process of paperwork, waiting in lines, talking to people, doing the physical exams, and, doing all like the boring stuff.
P-test. So make sure you're,
So make sure you're clean for God's sake. Make sure.
I didn't know the day of.
I know.
Are you ready for it? I'm like, oh.
And I know, like in a lot of states, weed is legal. You still cannot smoke it in the armed forces. You cannot. If you're reservist, active duty, you cannot. You're not allowed to. Take it up with Uncle Sam. But they will not accept you.
3 gallons of water the night prior, you'll be golden. And then only insert the pee in the middle of your pee, not the beginning or the end.
You could tell. You could tell exactly who was at like. Who was worried there, because they had like 3 gallons of water with them at all times. But Because you go to MEPS, you go through the whole process, you finish it, and the military decides, okay, cool, you passed it all, we will accept you. And then you get sworn in, and you're like, say all like the motivated stuff, right? Where you're like, I will protect the Constitution. You do all that cool, sexy stuff, and then you leave. And depending what job you chose will depend how soon you get to leave for boot camp. So basically, you go to MEPS and then you go home, and then it's business as usual. After you leave MEPS, you are now officially in what's called the DEP program, which stands for the Delayed Entry Program. What that basically means is you have signed your paperwork. You are joining the military. You have already signed the contract. You are now legally obligated to go to boot camp and then go do all the training and then join the military. But you're in this grace period where you're still like a civilian, sort of. You haven't gone to training yet. You're waiting to train. That's why it's called delayed entry, because you have to wait to train. They can only train a certain number of recruits at a time because there's not enough drill instructors and there's not enough space. So you're waiting. That's literally all it is. And then you get to the day. You have to go back to MEPS that day that you leave. The reason why is I think, what do you do again when you go back to MEPS? Do you remember?
It's like they bring everybody to one location, and so it's less transpo, and they get the transpo from the bus to the airport, and then it's just a process through there.
Right, because all I remember from my experience going back there for the last time was that I remember I went back there. I went to this big classroom, and I finished filling out some paperwork, and then after that, and that's when you say goodbye to your family if your family's there, and then you hand them like your phone. Or you just hand them stuff that you're not going to be needing with you.
Yeah.
Every boot camp or basic training, whatever it's called, has different things that you can bring. Like I think you can bring a bag or something to like Air Force boot camp. Marine Corps, you can't bring literally like anything except for the clothes you're wearing and your envelope that they're going to give you. Anyways, yeah. So you go to the MEPS one more time. I don't think you do any physical screening. Like that's all done. Like you're in. So you just go there, you finish up some administrative stuff, you get on a bus, go to the airport, and then you fly to, depending where you live in America, depends which boot camp you go to. I don't remember the exact line that it stops. I want to say it's the Mississippi River is where it cuts off. Could be wrong. Somebody will correct me.
It's on the line. If you're on the line with the Mississippi River, because I know Minnesota was East Coast. So it's depending on the Mississippi River, but if you're a little bit further to the left or the right of the Mississippi River, you can count on pretty consistent East Coast or West Coast, depending on East or West.
Right, and so you'll either be going to the East training area, which is called Paris Island, South Carolina, MCRD, which stands for Marine Corps Recruit Depot. For those who don't know, I should probably explain that, and then you'll either go to the West Coast, which is in San Diego. It's MCRD San Diego, California. That's all it is, and it's the same training. It's the exact same training with a couple of things that are a little bit different. But at the end of the day, we all come out the exact same. It's the same physical, mental suck, and so you're gonna go through 13 weeks of that.
Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Just want to let you know that if you want to watch the rest of the video, please go to our Buzzsprout link below in the description for the full content of this video. If anything was informational to this point, or you want to learn more about our experiences, please go to the Buzzsprout and link and to learn more. Unfortunately, our YouTube channel only allows 15 minutes. And we have over an hour worth of content to addition to other videos. So please and thank you. I appreciate you.